Hi everyone, it's Michelle and welcome back to the Royal Daily Tea. So first off, I just want to say thank you guys so much. You guys are so kind and supportive. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, a part of the RDT family community. I did have a really tough week the last couple of weeks. I've had another extended family member pass away of cancer, which was always very, very sad to hear. And then I heard, of course, that Ashley from Danger Zone had also passed away. And it's just very, very sad when you hear such negativity, especially from cancer that takes many, many people's lives. And it was really just a hard, day for me on Friday. And I took the day off, didn't do a video. As you know, I do try to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But anyways, I just want to say you guys keep me going with your really sweet comments and positivity and support. Y'all know I've had some stuff with YouTube and personal stuff, and it's just really nice to get that support from the community. So I just want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for being part of my RDT support family. I really do appreciate you. So with that being said, we have a lot of Royal Daily Tea to get through, y'all. You take a day off and so much stuff happens. So sit back and relax, grab yourself a beverage, and let's get into the Royal Daily Tea. So I'm sure we've all heard by now that Meghan Markle had her surprise drop last week of her Archetype podcast with her very first episode, where they talked about the complications of ambition, where she supposedly interviewed Serena Williams, although if you listen to it, it sounded like a monologue from Meghan Markle. Now, there's been a lot of backlash, of course, from people in South Africa, where Meghan kind of painted herself into a little corner, got her little footsies in her mouth, which I'm absolutely loving, because remember, Meghan wants to reveal to the world the real her, the uncensored Meghan that's not painted by the royal family or the press. You're right, girlfriend, it's all you. And you put your foot in your mouth, and I'm loving it. People are not drinking the Sussex Kool-Aid anymore. The blinders are coming off. And a lot of people are always saying, well, the royal family's not doing anything. The royal family needs to step up. Well, to be honest with you, I think the royal family is handling these Sussexes perfectly. The hands-off approach, in my opinion, is the best approach, because when you're dealing with two narcissistic people, the best thing you can do is not to give them any attention, because ultimately they will be their own demise. Meghan Markle, in my personal opinion, is her own worst enemy. Her narcissism and her ego is seeping through, and people can tell when you're not being authentic. I believe they said in her podcast, she said the word I or me 200 times. Literally, it was like, shut your pie hole, Meghan. Let Serena answer a question. Also, from an interview standpoint, it was not a good interview. She literally wanted Serena Williams to say, well, aren't you a victim? They were so mean to you because you're a female, and they said you were ambitious, and they didn't yell at John McEnroe. I mean, aren't you a victim? You could tell in the interview that Serena was like, yeah, but it's not a big deal. Serena wasn't buying what Meghan was pushing, this little victimhood narrative. And the whole time, it was about their friendship and their love fest and the big secret that everyone knew about her retiring from tennis. They didn't talk about the fact that Serena Williams was there because of her father helping to push her to success. I guess that didn't fit the narrative. They didn't talk about how Serena Williams is a successful entrepreneur who has a wonderful clothing line. They didn't talk about the future. They were just, yeah, poor me. I'm married to a billionaire and I'm worth millions of dollars and I'm only 40 and I guess I'm going to have to give up playing tennis and just sit around the pool. Yeah, poor me. And I have to talk to H to tell me what to do, how to get out of bed in the morning, how to walk and talk and tie my shoes. I don't know what to do. I better call Prince Harry for my life advice. The guy that has the contract that's paying me through BetterUp. Well, better call him You know what I mean? It was like they didn't talk about the fact that she has a business, that maybe she wants another child. Like, I just felt like Meghan missed a huge opportunity to make this an inspiring podcast. Instead, Meghan kind of made it all about herself. And in my opinion, this is a personal vanity project for Meghan Markle to set the record straight. Basically, to get digs in at the press, at Tom Bower, at the royal family. She made it seem like she was such a victim. She was trying to paint this narrative of how the evil, racist royal family made me go out and carry on royal duties while my child almost burned to death in South Africa. How dare them? Well, let me tell you something. The people of South Africa are not happy with little Megsy. I think little Harry and Meghan are going to have to pick a new vacation spot because South Africa is no longer welcoming the dynamic duo from Monteshitshow. She referred to a huge mega mansion, which was the home of the High Commissioner of South Africa, where a lot of dignitaries, royalty, politicians stay. It's kind of like a senator's mansion, a very, very nice place where very high profile people stay. And she basically acted like she was staying in a straw hut that had cow dung for a roof, and that the people of South Africa aren't educated. They don't live in proper homes for proper, fireproofing and security. Meanwhile, it had a thatched roof, which is meant for fire prevention. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe I heard a story that that house actually had burned down in 1999 and was rebuilt up to code with a thatched roof because, according to many sources, fires are apparently very common in the summer of South Africa. So, of course, these people are going to be prepared. And she walked around saying, oh, I stayed in this housing unit, which is basically a McMansion, which is so insulting. They didn't have smoke detectors, which, how did she know? Did she walk around and inspect the property? She wasn't even there. She made it seem like they dropped the baby off and they went off to their first event. Was she even there? Did she get a rundown of the house? Do you really think if a house had burnt down 20 years earlier, they're not going to put smoke detectors in the house? They're like, nah, we like to gamble. We're good. We don't care that the very important people are in the house. We're just going to wing it because we're South Africans. Like, how insulting is she? And then to add insult to injury, she had to talk about her nanny, her black nanny from Zimbabwe, walking around with a mud cloth, carrying her baby around like she just pricked her off the bush in Africa and put this little uneducated woman in the house to watch little Archie. And while she went downstairs to get a little snacky snack, the room caught on fire. And the royal family told her to suck it up, Buttercup, and go out and smile and shake some hands. We don't care that little Archie almost died. Well, a lot of people who were there were saying this did not happen. There was no fire. There was no fire, called. Again, this is a very, very important house with very, very prominent people. If there was a real fire, they would have called the fire department. You have to remember there's a lot of press. There's a lot of people lining the streets for this royal tour. People would have seen, if there was a fire, especially at a place that had burnt down before, you don't think they would take this seriously? Like, oh my God, let's get some people in here. Let's make sure there's not a wiring problem. They're not going to be like, nah, Meghan, you're good. Yeah, just put your son in there. We're fine. Are you kidding me? It is such an insult to treat the host country like they're a bunch of idiots, that they put you and your child's life in danger and nobody cared. Like, that is so insulting. She has no facts, no proof. As a matter of fact, more people have said it did not happen. Now, what a lot of people are assuming what happened is she brought this heater for whatever reason in the summer of South Africa. Why you would bring a heater? That supposedly someone plugged it in and maybe it was smoking, because a lot of times those new little things have smoke, and maybe it got really high and someone panicked and maybe they did a fire extinguisher or something, or maybe they just unplugged it. And then, of course, by the time it got to Meghan, she made it all dramatic. She literally said the nannies and the staff were crying and they were running from the halls because of what happened to Archie from a smoking heater, that he wasn't even in the room. Not to mention, every time there's a royal tour, according to Neil Sean, every incident, everything that happens is well documented. There's no documentation of a fire, of Why would the nannies be running out of the room crying, hysterical, devastated, shocked? Well, that sounds like that's a fire. Why wasn't the fire department called, Meghan? Is it because it never happened and they just unplugged a smoky heater and you made it dramatic? And by the way, it happened in 2019, 3 years ago, and no one has ever heard the story until right now? Really? Not in your book, Finding Freedom? Not in the Oprah Winfrey interview? Nope, you saved it for the podcast. And the hilarious thing is she totally trumped her guest, Serena Williams' own story of how her daughter fell out of the high chair and broke her arm. It was very dramatic. Serena Williams didn't sleep and she had to go and play a tennis match the next day and she won. And then Meghan's like, I got one better. Archie almost died in a nursery fire. Did I tell you the story? And Serena's like, no. Like shocked, like, girl, please, you never told me that. Why? Are you just making this up on the fly? Is that why? So let's just say the people of South Africa don't want her ever to step foot in their country again. There's even a trending hashtag, which basically means F off Meghan. And a lot of people are like, wow, I used to be a fan of Meghan. Not anymore. She calls me her sister. You ain't my sister. Like I said, she's pissed off the wrong people. Prince Harry, hypocrite Harry, once again, the eco-warrior himself took a private jet to Denver to play in a charity polo match. This is hysterical. He takes a private jet for a 90-minute flight, and he arrives at the airport in one of his little eco Audis, you know, his little energy-efficient cars. But then he forgets his polo gear, so he has to send his security guard to go pick up his stuff, because that's what they like to do as security. Go run my errands for me, boy. Go pick up my polo gear. Yeah, because they need security really badly. So security runs in Range Rover back to the house, picks up his polo gear, because let's be honest, Harry doesn't use the muscle between his ears. You're going to go play polo and you forget your polo gear. Like, really, Harry? So he sends his security guard in a Range Rover to his house to pick up his gear. They load it up on the private jet. Like, you can't make this stuff up. You cannot make it up, guys. Now, apparently, I will say this, that supposedly he hitched a ride with someone else that was going to the same event, and that he supposedly rode home commercially back to LA. So again, he was there, you know, there were several other people on the flight that were going to the same event. It was some other gentleman's plane, because we all know Meghan and Harry like to mooch off people. They don't pay for these private jets themselves. Are you kidding? They can't afford that. Let's be real. So they were hobnobbing or, you know, backpacking off some other rich person's private jet. So does it make it better? I guess, but it was literally 90 minutes, guys. Like, that's ridiculous. He could have just flown commercial either way, whatever. But it's hilarious how he's riding around in his little eco car telling people, look at me, I'm an eco warrior. And then he sends a security guard to go pick up his polo gear in a Range Rover, and then sits there in a 90-minute private jet to go play polo. Again, you can't make this up. So, of course, while he was there in Denver, he gave a speech where once again he brought up his mummy. Everything's about my mummy, because we all know that the 25th anniversary of Princess Diana is happening on the 31st of August. And he can't help himself. He constantly has to bring up his mother, talking about how he's sad that his children don't get to know his mom, and he's planning to celebrate her at home on that day. Now, there's a rumor that there was an agreement between William and Harry that they would no longer publicly commemorate the death of their mother. They weren't going to hold memorials for her every single time. They were no longer going to hold, you know, public commemorations or tributes, that type of thing for Princess Diana. I think the last time, of course, was for her 60th birthday, where they had the statue unveiling, but they both agreed that they were no longer publicly going to commemorate their mother's passing. They were just going to celebrate privately at home with their own families, which I think is a great thing. But y'all know Harry has not been able to let his mother rest. He's constantly bringing up the memory of his dead mother, which I'm sure is pissing William off like no other. You know how Harry had to refer to his mother at the UN speech, And then he talks about her now at this charity event. And of course, he talked about her with his interview with Hoda Kotb, where he talked about how his dead mother was helping him in his everyday life. That's a little weird, Harry. I'm sorry. So, you know, the poor man won't let her rest, and now he's writing his memoir, where we all know he's going to be talking about mummy, 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 Meghan, mummy, 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 genetic pain, mummy, 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 Meghan. You know, he just can't let his poor mother rest. And I'm sure William is getting tired of it, that his brother is monetizing the memory of his mother. So there's been a lot of talk, of course, of how Meghan Markle's podcast is #1 worldwide. Well, I don't buy that. I believe it was #1 in America, but not the UK or Australia. But a lot of people are questioning, is this really true? The numbers don't seem to add up. Now, we do know there was a huge marketing blowout bonanza marketing campaign by Spotify, because let's be honest, they need to make back that $18 million that they gave out to the dynamic duo for, what, 2 podcast episodes so far? So yeah, they definitely have to make that money back. They have to make it make sense for them, for their company, for their shareholders, for their followers, that they pay these people huge amounts of money for producing barely anything. So of course they're going to inflate it on their charts to make it #1. I personally feel like there was some finagling behind the scenes, because I remember someone said in the first 1 or 2 hours, I actually had more views and likes on my YouTube video than they did have on their podcast. And then boom, it jumps to #1 over Joe Rogan. Really? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the second episode, which is going to feature Mariah Carey. I don't know exactly when that one is going to drop, if it's like a week from now, who knows. But there's going to be a lot of speculation that the views are going to be down. I'm also not sure if it's going to be free. I know the first episode was free. I've heard rumors that people might have to pay for the second episode. So I'm very interested to see what happens if people have to pay to listen. Now, I haven't confirmed that 100%, but that is what I've heard on the street. But again, she said me and I referred to herself 200 times in her first podcast. So Mariah Carey, you guys, oh my God, talk about a diva. So I think what she's doing is she's having guests on every one of her show, and every one of them is going to have a word or a label attached. Serena Williams, and the word ambitious isn't really a negative word, but according to Meghan, she used it in a negative tone because the royal family said I was ambitious, and that was wrong. But, Serena Williams being ambitious and being a professional athlete kind of goes hand in hand. But now she's going to use the word diva, maybe, with Mariah Carey. Let's be honest, guys. Mariah Carey's a diva. She is a diva. Now, does that make it a bad word? Not necessarily, but she is a diva. We all know she's a diva. Have you seen her on TV shows? She's a diva. So it's going to be very interesting to see the narcissist and the diva fighting for airwaves. And that interview. Is Mariah Carey going to put Meghan in her place? I mean, I'm almost tempted to listen just because you have the 2 biggest narcissists on one podcast. What? Who's going to be the top queen? I mean, I'm almost interested to hear if Mariah's going to give her shade and be kind of a little bitchy on the show. Because if you've ever seen Mariah Carey on a TV show, guys, she serves it. On a platter. So here's gonna be little Megsy. Oh my God, Mariah, you're so great. And she's like, I don't know, guys. I think it's gonna be interesting to see. I really hope Mariah Carey gives her attitude. I really do. I would love to see it. Anyway, so there's a lot of anticipation of what's going to happen with her second episode. If it's going to remain in the top spot, in my opinion, is going to fall. I've seen some of her guest list, and they're all woke celebrities, outspoken about feminist issues. No real people of substance that I've seen. Again, I don't think it's going to last. I think it's going to fall very, very quickly, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think about her podcast. So another story has come to light that Meghan Markle and her husband, Prince Harry, called an emergency all-hands meeting with their staff and with the executives at Netflix after they canceled Pearl. They were very, very concerned about their decision to not go forward with her show. Of course, the U.S. streaming giant's decision, was based on numbers, was based on money, and according to this royal source, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were extremely upset about the cancellation and tried to get a meeting with the CEO of Netflix, and he denied access to them. He would not meet with them. So apparently they're very, very upset. Now you have to understand, September will be 2 years since they signed their deal with Netflix, and they have yet to have anything on the airways. It's taken them 1.5 years to get a second episode of Archwell Audio on the air. So now we have the Heart of Invictus, which is supposed to come at some point, we believe at the end of this year. And then they have the On the Wall docuseries that they're filming. But again, things are still very, very sketchy for Netflix. It's been almost 2 years and they have nada produced, nada on the books. So Netflix is losing subscribers, they're losing money, they're raising their prices. They're having a little bit of a crisis, so dealing with the ex-royals whining and complaining about, why did you cancel my show, Pearl? I'm sure the CEO was definitely not taking their phone calls. So it's very interesting to see what is going to happen with the Heart of Invictus. Is it finally going to air anytime soon, and how is it going to do in the ratings, as well as this on-the-fly docu-series that this duo has been filming for 2 years. My God, are they doing the first decade after Megxit? Like, when is it going to be enough coverage? They've literally filmed their lives for the past 2 years since Megxit. Like, how much more footage does this couple need? So I'm very curious to see how much footage these people have, how much is actually going to be in the show. Could you imagine being the people who have to work behind the scenes and put together this docu-series from hell with Meghan and Harry and all the stuff they have to cut out, all the arguments on the mic? Oh, can't put this in there. I bet there's a lot of juicy tidbits in those recordings, let me tell you. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're actually going to see this docu-series? Do you think it's ever going to hit the light of day? What do you guys think about the brothers' unspoken agreement about not talking about or commemorating Princess Diana's death in public, and how Prince Harry has broken that rule time and time again? And what do you guys think of Meghan Markle's podcast and the huge backlash that she has received in South Africa? Leave me your comments, guys, down below. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel, but please be sure to check me out on my other social media accounts, as well as my online Amazon storefront. And if you don't know, I do have a $3 a month Patreon membership. If you'd like to support the channel and become a VIP RDT family member, the link will be down below. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.